Hi everyone, this is Callie. Welcome to today's Simon Says Stamp card kit video. Today's card is going to be featuring products from the January 2025 card kit. The Get Yeti set here is the main feature of the kit. This stamp set is just adorable, and I hope you'll get to find lots of inspiration. And at the end, I'll show you two more cards that I have made for the release, and we will go through all the items from this card kit that I used. So let's get started here. I'm just going to stamp the images. And I'm going to stamp this mountain on its own panel because I'm going to fussy cut just the top portion off so that I can create a sky using the embossing folder later. So I'll set that panel aside and use a second panel to stamp the rest of the images. And I'm going to stamp the Yeti as well as a little mug of hot cocoa for him. And lots of trees because we want the Yeti to be in a forest with the mountain backdrop for this winter scene. And now I'll be coloring my images with Copic markers. I'm adding some light teal here to the snow-capped mountains. You can use gray, you can use blue, it's whatever you want your scene to look like. And then for the mountains themselves, I'm going to use some warm grays. I've added the darkest colors to the corners there where it meets the snow caps. And then I added a medium color, and now I'm blending it all out with a lighter color. Now to give it a little bit of extra texture, I'm going back in with the darkest warm gray and just adding a few dots here and there to give it a bit more interest and texture. Then I added a snow line at the bottom as well, and remember, I'm going to cut the top off so that I can create a sky background with the embossing folder later. Then I'll use some greens to color all of these trees. On one of my cards, I did more of a blend. On this one, I'm using more of a flicking motion so that I can create some additional texture to the trees. I'm using a dark, medium, and light color to flick each color on, and then I'll go back over all of the trees with the darkest color to add some more flicking so that they stand out a bit better. Then I'll color the trunks with a few browns. And then for the Yeti, I'm not going to leave him white. I'm going to use some light blues, add a bit of color around him and not fully shade him in. Then I'll color his face, add some blush, and then finish by coloring up the sweet little mug that he'll be holding in between his hands. And when I'm done coloring all of these images, it's time to fussy cut. There is a coordinating die, but it does not come with the card kit, except for a die that cuts the main Yeti here, and it also has a little balloon die that I don't get to use, but I'll fussy cut the rest. There is a coordinating die for the rest of the images, but you'll have to buy that separately if you're interested in those coordinating dies. So this Yeti here will cut out little slits around his hands so that you can slide an image in to show him holding them. That's super cute, and it's such a fun feature to have on this Yeti. As mentioned, I only cut the top of the mountains, and then I'll fussy cut around all of these trees for my scene. Next, I'll use the Illuminated Jacks embossing folder, which is also a part of the January 2025 card kit, as well as some Photo Play Yeti for Winter patterned paper that coordinates with this stamp set. So I've used a piece of patterned paper that kind of looks like a dusting of snowfall there, and I'll run it through the die cutting machine with the embossing folder to get some texture on this patterned paper. And instead of ink blending, I like the texture of the background and I like the color and the snowfall that's already there. So I'll go ahead and adhere my mountains right over that embossed panel so that we have a nice sky background. I'll place a heavy acrylic block over that so that it sets because of that textured background. We want to make sure that that mountain panel is on that securely. And while that's drying, I'm going to add an action wobble to my Yeti. This is an action wobble that's included in the kit, so it makes the kit a little bit more fun. If you've never seen these before, they are plastic springs that allow your image or whatever you adhere to it to spring back and forth and kind of wobble to and fro. It also gives your image lots of dimension and gives the card a bit of an interactive element that's super fun for a recipient. So I need to mention that I also cut off 1/8 of an inch off all of the sides for the embossed panel. So I went ahead and trimmed off the sides of my mountain panel to match with that. And now I can go ahead and set up my scene. I've already adhered 2 of the trees down on the right and left, and now I'm going to peel off the backing of the adhesive on the other side of the action wobble and adhere the Yeti down. Then I'll fill in the rest of the space with the rest of the trees that I have. Last but not least, I'm going to stamp a sentiment and I'll emboss it in white over some black cardstock. I've prepared my cardstock here with some anti-static powder tool using my embossing tool, and I'll stamp it with a clear ink, then sprinkle some white embossing powder over it, then heat set it so that I can have my white sentiment over this black cardstock. And again, because I don't have the coordinating dies, I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut around this sentiment. And then I'll add some thin 3D foam adhesive behind that so that I can adhere it to this card. I'm adhering the whole panel to a card base first, then I'll attach my sentiment, and then that finishes this particular card. So this card is just so fun because of that action wobble. It gives our Yeti so much dimension. He looks like he's popping up from this scene, and when you flick at him, he just kind of wobbles back and forth, and it's super cute. I want to show you now my other two cards that I created for release night. This one features the snowman images that are on the Get Yeti stamp set. So it just gives your scene a bit more fun to it with other images that are available. This third card was made for the social media reel for Simon Says Stamp. It's a bit more simple, but also uses the embossing folder for the background and some of that patterned paper. And it also uses that action wobble that makes that card super fun as well. I hope you've enjoyed the inspiration that I've shared for this January 2025 Simon Says Stamp card kit. If you're interested in any of the products that I use, be sure to check out the links below, as well as on the coordinating blog post where everything will be linked for your convenience. Thank you so much for stopping by and have a wonderful day. Bye everyone.